This morning, I want to start off by doing something that John did a couple weeks ago, and that is I want to thank all of you all for all your gifts and your cards and your nice words to all of the staff during Pastor Appreciation Month. It was really, really unexpected and very much appreciated. So thank you all for doing that. It means a lot that you just took the time to do that. You know, we live in a world today where writing a card to someone is kind of a different thing. My mom would always send out cards, and I love that she did that, although I have not followed that. But I appreciate you all doing that. I also want to, at this moment, for some of you all don't know this, but on Monday nights, I'm here almost every Monday night for the gathering. And we have a lot in this room that come on Monday nights to help us. And I want to publicly thank you all for being there for us. It means so much to have our church buy into that service because that's our church also. I love our people on Monday nights, but I'm going to be honest with you, we can't do it without your all's help. There's so much going on, and in the world we live in today with the finances that's going on in people's lives, we have a lot of people coming, a lot more people coming. So we would love to have you come and join us and help us serve, help us clean up, just whatever you feel led to do. We're always open to more people. We have prayer time at 4 o'clock. We start cooking right after that, and we serve at 6 o'clock, and then we have a service in this room at 6:45. Some people who come on Sunday mornings don't come up to the service because they stay downstairs and clean afterwards, and that's a big job. There's a lot to clean up afterwards. Tomorrow night, we're having our annual Thanksgiving meal. We're going to have a big crowd here. If you're available to come and help us out, we'd love for you to come and eat also. You don't have to do anything. It's just neat. I tell people all the time, I think the closest thing I see to heaven is around the dinner tables on Monday nights. Because we have people sitting together that honestly in the world we live in would not sit together normally. And on Monday nights, we get to see these people sitting together. So again, thank you all so much for what you've done. So this morning, I want to start off just telling you and admitting one thing to you. I absolutely love this season of the year. From Thanksgiving to Christmas, it's my wheelhouse. I love it. You online can't see this, but others, you can't see it either. I got my Christmas socks on. We're started. I have Christmas socks for every Sunday. I'm ready. I'm ready for this. You know, I am so weird that on the November the 1st, when the radio station 94.5 mix goes to Mixmas, I get excited. Everyone else rolls their eyes, but I love it. I text my daughter and my family. I said, it's on, here we go. I don't listen to it all the time, but I love just to turn it over. And I tell you what, there's something about Christmas that just brings me back to my childhood. And I have so many fond memories of Christmas. But this morning I want to talk to you all that this is not a great time. There's many that this season brings up depression and sadness and dread and gloom. And I understand that. I'm glad I don't have to live through that, and I'm sorry that you do. But what I want you to hear this morning, first of all, is that both of those emotions are okay. You can be like me. You can be excited, but it's okay not to be excited. It's okay to dread it. It's okay to be sad about it. You know, when I write sermons, I listen to God and say, God, what do you want me to talk about? So on Tuesday night, I sat down and wrote a sermon. And for some reason, that wasn't the sermon that God wanted me to preach. So on Wednesday, as Stephanie and I, my wife, were walking into a furniture store here in town, she said something to me. She had just gotten a text from her sister. We're going to, once again, a Christmas celebration at Shakertown. We're going to go do that. And she had said, her sister said, hey, let's go to Lee's Famous Recipe in Harrodsburg and eat before, and we can have remembrance of their mom, because she loved Lee's Famous Recipe. And Stephanie said these words to me. She said, Rick, I need to tell you, I'm having a hard time with the loss of our moms, especially right now. You see, her mom died in July of 2023, and my mom died in December of that same year. 2 years without your mom is hard, especially this time of year. It's tough. You know what? It's been 2 years, but the grief is still there. The pain is still there. The loss is still there. And believe me, being a pastor, I've heard so many other pastors and so many other, and I will say, they're trying to be positive. People say, you need to get on with your life. That happened a long time ago. Get on with your life. I say they're absolutely wrong. Getting on with your life is not what you need to do. You need to deal with your grief. You need to live with your grief. And however long it stays with you, know it's okay for it to be there. Someone sent me this right before I did a funeral one time. I don't know who wrote it. I wish I could tell you who wrote it. It's going to be on the screen, but it says this: grief never ends, but it changes. It's a passage, not a place to stay. Grief is not a sign of weakness nor a lack of faith. It is the price of love. You see, friends, what I want you to see is the first thing that says is it doesn't say that grief is wrong. It doesn't say you're not allowed to grieve. Some of you that talk about this in your life for a living, John, you're one of them. I'm sure you could speak much more soundly on this than I can. But I want people to know that grief can be caused by many things other than just death. Grief can be caused by a loss of a relationship. You know, it's interesting. Whenever I'm preaching, it's like all of a sudden I get bombarded with things that have to do with my sermon, and I'm not on social media, so it's not like they're listening to me, but somehow I still get it. And I saw something came across my screen that said 1 in 9 children deal with loss and grief in the state of Kentucky. Children are dealing with grief. It's not just the loss of a parent or a loss of a sibling. It's loss of a parent due to divorce. It's loss of friends. It's loss. They're just like us. They're grieving. But what I want you to hear again this morning, friends, it's okay. It's okay to grieve. You know, what I found in my life is that my grief comes in waves. There's sometimes I don't even really remember that it's there. But then Christmas comes around and chocolate-covered cherries come up for sale. My dad, I think he's the only person in the world that loved those. But he absolutely loved them. One of the last memories I have of my dad, he died on December the 27th. One of the memories I have of him, the last memory is I bought him chocolate-covered cherries. And I took it to the nursing home, and I gave it to him. And friends, I don't know why, but it breaks my heart he never opened them. He never opened them. But that's what it called. This wave of grief comes in as I see something, as I smell something, as I hear a song. It brings it back. But with my grief, at least, sometimes it takes me back to the sadness, but other times it makes me smile. It makes me remember. It makes me not forget the person or the event I'm grieving for. What I want you to tell you, though, is some of you, your grief does not take you back to a happy place. And friends, that's okay. Your grief is your grief. You're going to hear me say this a lot. No one can judge your grief. It's yours. It's yours alone. As Lucy said, people tried to tell her in her church hurt what she should believe, what she should do, what she should be doing. That's not for them. Grief is the same way. You know, although my life moves on, my grief is still there, and that's okay. But grief is not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of weakness. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you when you grieve. In fact, I would tell you, in my humble opinion, if you don't grieve, there's something wrong with you. There is grief. And it's there, and it's not a sign of weakness. Don't let others shame you because of your grief. Live with your grief. Understand that it's there. Your grief is yours, and there's no weakness to it. I've heard this a lot also, and it's in the statement. It says, grief is not a lack of faith. I've often heard people tell others and tell me, if you just love Jesus enough, your grief will go away. You know, one thing I bring up to them is Jesus at Lazarus' tomb in John 11:35. And it simply says this: Jesus wept. You know, friends, Jesus knew everything and knew what he was going to do. He fully was well aware that he was going to bring Lazarus back to life. But what did he do? He wept the loss of his friend. Jesus grieved So if someone tells me that grief is a lack of faith, I will tell them I'm not sure that Jesus was ever accused of having a lack of faith because he believed in him. So never, ever, ever let someone tell you that your grief is a lack of faith, because it's not. The one part of this that I really love, that statement, is that this part, that grief is the price of love. Let's be honest. We've all had events happen, that bad things that we don't grieve about because they weren't so interconnected with us. Or we do grieve, but it's a very short time of grief. But I want to tell you, you grieve because you love something enough to grieve its loss. You know, we live in a world today where there's a lot of loss going on. And as I said earlier, it's just not the loss by death. There's relationships that are lost, marriages that are lost. There are families that are lost because of the lifestyle of someone. And it breaks my heart to hear the grief that people go through when they are shunned from their family because they love someone. I have a gay daughter. I cannot imagine not loving my daughter just because of who she is. But there are people in this room that have dealt with that, and that grief is real. But I do want to tell you something. You grieve that because you loved those people. And I'm sorry that that has happened to you, but I want you to know that your grief is valid. But your grief is the price of love. Because if you didn't love them, you wouldn't care. So friends, this is hard to hear sometimes, but I think that's why we have to talk about it this morning, that grief is okay. You see, this time of year, especially for me, I don't know why, but I can remember my grandmother. Every Christmas, I knew it was coming. She would give my dad this huge box of shaving goods for Christmas. And there was stuff in there, and some of you younger people, just roll your eyes like my kids do. You'll understand this. There was talcum powder. 2 years in a row, there was high karate cologne. I mean, we were big time. But it was every year, and I was so excited for that. I wasn't shaving. It had nothing to do with me. But I remember that, just like it was yesterday. But then, it's okay, because then the grief of losing my grandmother, of losing my dad is there, but that's when it brings back happiness. So just know that at this time of year, the feelings may be more raw, and it's okay. It's okay. You know, you need to understand that God understands this. He understands the hurt and the loss that it's caused. 1 Peter 5:7, I love this in the Amplified Bible version. It says, casting all your cares, all your anxieties, all your worries, all your concerns on him, for he cares about you with deepest affection and watches over you very carefully. You see, friends, Jesus wants it all. He wants you to cast everything on him. All of it. And why? Because he cares for you. And I love that it goes even deeper. He cares with you with deepest affection and watches over you very carefully. You see, Jesus loves you enough that it's okay to be mad at him. It's okay to be mad at God. When I was a younger Christian, that worried me. I was afraid I'm mad at God, but I don't want to tell him like he wouldn't know anyhow, but I don't want him to know that I'm mad at him. What I want to tell you is it's okay to be mad at God. It's okay to scream out to God, cry out to God. If you read, especially in the Old Testament, many times people cry out to God and scream at God, and they don't understand God. And I want to be honest with you, I think until the day I see him, I'm not going to understand him either. I can't figure out why things happen that happen. But I do know that I can cast it on him. And you know why I know that it's okay to be mad at God? Is because in two places, I figure if it says in the Bible, in the Old Testament and the New Testament, it must be really important. Deuteronomy 31:6 and Hebrews 13:5 both says, he will never leave you nor forsake you. You see, I've talked to you all in the past that I I had had enough of God after my grandmother had a stroke, and for a year she didn't know who anyone was. And I was selfish enough, my first day of my senior year of high school, my grandmother died. And I told God, that's it. I'm done. I'm out. I don't need you. I don't need to deal with this. I'm out. Although I forsake him, he never left me. He went with me. He stayed with me. And he was there when I came back to you. You see, he wants to be there with you through the entirety of your grief. Now, that makes it sound like your grief will end at some time. And I will tell you, your grief may take you until you meet Jesus. Your grief may be with you the rest of your life, and that's okay. You see, the Jesus I serve and love will never tell you to get over it. He'll stay right there with you. You see, you don't need to feel like you have to go at it alone. A lot of people say, well, Rick, it's kind of a cop-out for you to tell me just to talk to Jesus. I don't hear him talk back. What I'm telling you this morning is it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to reach out. Had Stephanie not told me she was struggling, I would have not known that she was struggling with this. Had we not talked about it, we both would have not known that we still struggle with the grief. You see, it says in John 13:34, a new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. Again, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. Friends, what if we as individuals live that out? What if we as Embrace live that out? What if we as Christians live that out? What if we truly loved one another? You know, this is kind of a funny statement, but it's absolutely true. I think the worst place to be honest with someone is in church. Because let me ask you this question. What's your normal answer when someone asks, how are you? What do you say? I'm fine. I hear everyone saying, I'm fine. I'm fine. You know what? And I can say this because I have been where I have been the lowest of lows. My life is falling apart. And someone comes up to me in church and says, how are you? And I said, I am fine. I will even tell you that I'm better than fine. I'm great. How are you? Why do we do that? We think we have to have our lives perfect, don't we? We don't want everyone else to know that we're struggling. But when I'm saying I'm fine, someone next to me, when they hear that from me, they say, oh, I'm fine too. We have a time with prayer and lament. I like that. We are able to open up with each other. But you know what? We need to do that more often. It's just not during prayer and lament time. It's during all the times. Had an experience one day where I was walking through my work, and someone said, how are you? And before I could answer, they turned and walked the other way. And I realized they didn't really care how I was, but they just asked. So my answer was, I'm fine. But then later I found them, and I just asked a simple question. Do you really want to know how I am? That gives them the ability to say no. Thankfully, this person said yes. I think they knew it was a loaded question. But how about us? Do you want to know how someone is when you ask them how they are? Are you willing to tell someone if you're not fine? My hope and prayer is that this will be a place where you can do that. On Monday nights, we have a worship service up here, and we do something called, we have a time of gratitude where we just literally share out what we're grateful for. And what I tell people all the time is there's some people in the room that are sitting there that thinking, I have nothing to be grateful for. But then all of a sudden you hear people hollering out. I have one guy that Ross loves to tell what flowers he's seen that he loves. And that brings a smile to my face. I don't know what flowers they are. I don't know anything about flowers, but it brings him gratitude, so it makes me grateful. And that's what I tell people. Then you hear that you do have things to be grateful for. You see, friends, when you're honest with how you're feeling, you allow other people to understand you, and you also find people that may have been in the same boat you're in or you've been in. See, that's the thing I loved about Lucy's talk this morning. As she was talking, I was checking off the marks because although Lucy and I were at the different churches, we had some of the same leadership at churches. where this happened. I knew where she was coming from. I knew when I read her talk that she was speaking from her heart, from the inside, and I could understand her grief that's still there. And that's a beautiful thing. So I'm going to ask you this morning, if someone asks you how you are, I'm going to ask that you be honest. If it's a bad day, you can just say, it's a bad day. John and Christina always say this, but if you don't know what to say after someone shares with you, you just thank them for being honest with you. My wife teaches me many valuable lessons. And one lesson I learned very, very, very early in marriage. She's a retired school teacher, and she came home from work one day, very beginning of her career, and she started listing off the things that had gone wrong that day. And I'm a fixer. So everything she listed, I had an answer to. And she finally looked at me with the teacher look, and those of you that know teachers, you know this look. She said, I don't need you. Russell knows because he had her as a teacher. But she said, I don't need you to fix anything. I just need you to listen. Those words have never spoken more powerfully than those did. I don't need you to fix anything. I just need you to listen. How many times in life do we just want someone to listen? Can you please hear me? You know, I used to tell people until my parents died and Stephanie's parents died, I really didn't know what to say at a funeral visitation. There was always that awkward time of what do you say to someone during their biggest time of loss? And I realized as I waited for people to come through that line to greet me, they didn't have to say a word. Their sheer presence was enough to tell me how much it meant for them to be there. So friends, again, I'm going to challenge you. Don't wait to be asked how you are. Find someone out. Search someone out. Tell them you need to talk. Talk to me or one of the pastors. You don't have to do this alone. Let me tell you another thing about this church. I wish I could say this about all churches, but I can't. This is a safe place not to be okay. It really is a safe place. Not only not to be okay, this is a safe place to be an absolute mess. Another thing my wife taught me as we were sitting in church many years ago on a Sunday night. Yes, we used to have Sunday night services. And she was crying at a service. And sadly, it embarrassed me because I didn't really know what she was crying about, but I thought, oh, people are going to think we're having trouble. I was more worried about what people thought about me than I was about what my wife was crying about. So friends, it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to grieve. There's nothing to be ashamed of. And let me say this once again. No one can judge the validity of your grief. Your grief is yours. Your grief can be whatever it is. It's okay. If this is a sad season for you, that's okay. If you need to borrow some joy, come and look at my socks. Do something. It's okay. But you know, as we enter into this time of Thanksgiving, Christmas, may we all know, no matter what, that we aren't alone. Our grief doesn't define us or negate us from the love of our Heavenly Father. Our grief does not define us or negate us from the love of our fellow Christians. And our grief does not define us or negate us from those that we're sitting next to this morning in this place. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.